May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be always acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. I had a deja vu moment this week. When I began thinking about the passage in Luke's gospel, I had a vision of Ken and Joanne Sailors, who used to be with the Diocese of Texas, at our pulpit, standing over and bending over to tell us the story of the woman in today's gospel. 3 years ago, she came to preach at St. Christopher's on this Sunday in the lectionary. And because of the way our lectionary repeats over a 3-year cycle, it's deja vu all over again. The story of the woman has not changed, but our lives and our context as a congregation have changed tremendously. And so I wondered, what is the story that we are invited to hear differently today? The setting in the text is important. It happened on the Sabbath in a synagogue. In Jesus' time, the Sabbath was observed religiously, pun intended. The Sabbath was a day to disengage from all work, to remember Yahweh's intervention in the Israelites' enslavement in Egypt and their deliverance through the desert. It was a day to gather and worship in the synagogue, to hear the stories of Yahweh's engagement with his people. There were rules about the Sabbath, and more rules about who was allowed inside the synagogue. People who were unclean, like a woman with an 18-year-long infirmity, were not allowed inside. Touching an unclean person was strictly forbidden because it made the one who touched unclean as well. Now, there are many things happening in this story that are just out of bounds in the rule book. An unclean woman walked into the synagogue. Jesus laid hands on her, and it's the Sabbath. He healed on the Sabbath. Until the woman arrived, it was just another Sabbath in just another synagogue. Jesus was abiding all the rules of Sabbath and worship, as was his custom. And then he saw the woman. He could have handed her a business card and said, "Come see me tomorrow, I'm free after lunch." It seemed like the obvious thing to do, right? It's been 18 years, 6,570 days. What's one more day? But Jesus was not willing to wait one more minute. Why the sense of urgency? Rabbi Abraham Heschel wrote a reflection on the Sabbath that sheds light, I think, on why Jesus responded the way he did. 6 days a week we wrestle with the world wringing profit from the earth. On the Sabbath, we especially care for the seed of eternity planted in our soul. The world has our hands, but our soul belongs to someone else. The Sabbath as a day of rest, as a day of abstaining from toil, is not for the purpose of recovering one's lost strength and becoming fit for yet more work. The Sabbath is a day of rest for the sake of life. For 18 years, this woman was bent over, walking through life, staring at the cracks in sidewalks, unable to greet anyone face to face, to exchange a smile, to lift up her eyes unto the hills. She was isolated, untouchable. All the gifts of community that feed our soul were denied for her. Luke said Jesus saw the woman, but he saw much more than an object. He saw suffering, a woman who was physically alive, but was spiritually starving. And to Jesus, that was urgent. 3 years ago, when Canon Sailors preached on this text, St. Christopher's was beginning a new chapter in its life. It was my third Sunday with this congregation. We didn't have a choir. We didn't have lovely bulletins with staples in them. And I remember that because as Canon Sailors walked to her seat, her bulletin dropped and all of the pages scattered. It was memorable for her. We didn't have Christofolks, J2A, Rite 13, or Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, or adult Sunday school class. We didn't know that one day we would be called to support immigrants who were trying to make a new life in Texas and the United States, or that many of us would form bonds with fourth grade students to become mentors and walk with them through life choices. We didn't know how many lives we would touch through our pastoral care, inside and outside this congregation. We didn't know that we would meet Mary Magdalene or Peter in such meaningful ways. We didn't know that we would present 24 people to the bishops of our diocese for confirmation, reaffirmation, and reception, or that we would baptize 10 more. We didn't know that we would be able to have a curate and participate in the larger church in such a remarkable way. We didn't know that we would send children who weren't even here to Camp Allen for an unforgettable summer week. We didn't know that our congregation would grow in so many profound ways, or that we were being equipped to meet the suffering of real people in our world. This week, I thought about the events in my own life that have figuratively weighed me down. All of us have those experiences, and God knows the St. Christopher's did too. But how we carry the weight of our broken world differs from person to person and from organization to organization. St. Christopher's legacy is to meet the world with both feet planted in hope. We are inspired to look beyond the brokenness of this moment, to see suffering, and to respond. 3 years from now, we will be as different from today as we are now from 3 years ago, because God is present here. And God is continuing to prepare us and equip us so that we can see suffering in our community and lay our hands on it. If our past is any indication of our future, buckle up. Even now, we are preparing for the unimaginable, our calling. We are Christ's hands in this world, in this moment, in this place. Amen.